gentlemen. If you are listening to this right now, asking yourself, what do the questions of the universe hold, then we must sadly tell you, we got nothing. Greetings and salutations, my psychedelic children, my beautiful souls, and welcome once again to the expose in the art of conversation. We've got nothing. I am your host, Catalyst Jose, coming at you once more from the beautiful Sunshine Wasteland of Central Florida. And I am here with one of my longtime friends, the co-creator of Life on Saturn Productions, one Mr. Dominic Monette, aka Saturn Lunar Nova. How you doing, brother?
Awesome. New York City finally got a thin layer of snow.
Are you serious? Yes. They finally got some snow.
It is not like the North Country where it comes up to your knees and it's super cold. No, in the city it's like 30 degrees every day and there's just no snow.
Well, literally, I always say anywhere past Poughkeepsie, like you go up north, it's all wilderness, save for like a few key areas, i.e. Syracuse, Buffalo, Albany, and those places. But the fact is, they're all spread out. Like, it's mostly mountainous wilderness.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of the city, how is Bronx treating you guys right now?
Well, good. I mean, like I was telling you before, I'm working on a commission. A guy named Mark Bridge is paying me to draw his comic called Mana Kingdom. And I met him at the comic shop in Yonkers. So it's the, first business I've got out here. So that's cool.
Righteous. You've been eating, deep diving into halal food truck as of late?
And actually, no, we've been cooking at home a lot to save money, but man, halal truck is crack.
Bro, like, no, you ain't capping. Like, what is it? That, without a doubt, is some of the best, like, street food I've had in the city, bar none. Like, oh my god, that lamb, the sauces, even the red sauce, even though my anus did not love me that night, as you know.
I warned you. I told you.
It's worth it.
It's hot.
It's worth it, though. It's worth the searing pain, and I do mean searing.
I know you were in tears eating it. It was painful.
Yes, I was. That's some good lamb, though. I can't front about that. But, so, now, by the time that this podcast is posted, I'm now addressing our general viewers and audiences. I guess the proper term would be listeners. We have gone on a bit of a hiatus for a few months there just because I'm still getting used to life here in Florida, and Saturn has been doing all his commissions and making that real artist money. Respect, by the way. Fuck Lenza. Anyways, so ordinarily, I usually start off the cast with a mock sponsorship from one local business or establishment that I just love and I receive absolutely no payment for, just out of the goodness of my heart. Although if people want to start forking over a little bit, it could help increase our viewership, as the phone that I'm using to contact Saturn immediately drops. Fuck you, physics. Anyways. Drop it like it's hot. So, the title of this episode is going to be similar to one we did last season, 2022, A Geek's Odyssey, in which I would like to make this a more, annual episode for the cast there, where Saturn and myself, we just review the year in terms of, pop culture projects, television shows, movies, video games, new music, and all that stuff that we personally enjoyed. He gets his 5, I get my 5, and ordinarily I would just dive right into it, but as opposed to a mock sponsorship, I will take this time to address a memoriam for the many artistic talents that we had lost this past year. And it was so hard to number so many down, and that we can only talk about for a little bit. But I managed to do it, and I'll also give some honorable mentions once we're done the ones we've discussed as well. So, Saturn, as fruitful as this year has been for nerds and geeks everywhere, we have lost many icons that are near and dear to both yours and mine hearts. That yes,
yeah,
that
ones
is
that ones that hit on a deeper level. Like celebrity deaths are always sad, but like the ones that happened recently are just like
yeah. No, the end of the year fucked us, kind of like when Betty White died at the end of last year.
hmm
So to go through some of the ones I have listed, first off, I'll start with one Mr. Sidney Poitier, an actor from, he started in the 40s all the way up to the early 70s. Mr. Poitier has been known for classic cinema and breaking new grounds for African American actors long before even the civil rights movement. In fact, he is the first African male to receive the Best Actor Oscar in 1959's, I believe it was Lilies of the Field, although I could be getting my years mixed up there. Mr. Poitier has also been known for having big time roles in classic cinema such as The Defiant Ones, where he played an ex-convict on the run while being chained to a white man during the I believe it was 1959. That broke ground right there for film. And also best known for his portrayal in The Heat of the Night from 1967. The most famous line from that movie being, "They call me Mr. Tibbs." He died January 6th of this year at the age of 94. He also received it was some sort of award for humanitarianism by President Barack Obama. So,
interesting.
R.I.P. Sidney Poitier. Next on the list is, this one's gonna hit you especially, one Mr. Bob Saget.
Oh my god, I actually forgot about that, but yeah, that was that was weird.
But
It's just not one of the people you'd think would just go. I mean, that's what's weird about a lot of the deaths this year. It's the people that you're like, really, that person? Holy crap!
yeah, no, this whole list is full of them. So Mr.
I mean, unlike Betty White, who come on, we kind of knew that was coming.
Yeah, no, for almost 100 years, she just gave death the middle finger, as we all should in our prime. Anyways, Mr.
And she stayed so funny, so like modernly funny till her deathbed. You know what I mean?
Hey, she knew how to stay relevant, and it's just one of those icons that, jeez, that will withstand the literal test of time, and it's just a shame. Along with Bob here, who those who don't know, I wouldn't know why, what played the father Danny Tanner on Full House, his biggest claim to fame. He was also not too bad of a comedian, although some have mixed feelings about his blue collar work as opposed to how prim and proper he was in Full House, but I guess that's also part of the appeal there. But also, one of my favorite movie moments personally came from a scene involving Dave Chappelle in How High, where where Dave Chappelle is going to rehab for, for marijuana usage. And then Bob Saget stands up from the crowd and is like, "Are you kidding me? I suck dick for cocaine. You ever suck dick for marijuana?" Grade A classic. You will be missed. Bob Saget died January 9th at the age of 65. Next on the list is one Mr. Ray Liotta, died May 26th at the age of 66. Liotta's biggest claims to fame were, of course, the 1990 gangster flick Goodfellas, especially for the most iconic line, as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Wow, I forgot he died. I think my mind took that information and was like, nah, that's not true. You know, it's like threw it aside.
I'm telling you, bro. Like, and Liotta is also
one of the best villains. His eyes, like you can't replace his eyes. You know, they're terrifying.
I can't recall one film role where he was genuinely a protagonist or even like a good guy. But what is it?
I know there is one, but you're right. I can't think of it right away.
Now, low-key, some of my favorite shit is actually unknown to a lot of people. One being the fact that he voiced the main character in GTA Vice City, actually, back in the day. And also there was one. We'll edit that out in postscript.
You dropping my ass.
Oh, I will drop your ass anytime I want. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, you might as well just keep this in the podcast.
Oh, maybe.
It's dropping.
Maybe. Drop him like it's hot. Drop him like it's Saturn. I really wish I could. Anyways. He also played in this one horror film from the 2000s there. It had John Cusack in it. I believe it was called Identity.
Never heard of it.
Basically, what was it? Without getting into too big a spoiler territory, there's a whole bunch of people at this gas station motel kind of deal, and Liotta is one of many people. It's kind of like a whodunit, but there is a big plot twist that like really catapulted the movie itself to I would say cult status there. So R.I.P. Mr. Liotta. And up next on the list on March 14th, due to multiple heart attacks due to hip replacement surgery, R.I.P. to professional wrestler, the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Hey, yo. A.K.a. Scott Hall. Scott Hall had a diversive wrestling career, never in fact winning a world championship, but still had paved the way for many modern professional wrestlers. R.I.P. Mr. Hall. And now finally, here are the ones that break both Saturn and mine's hearts. On 10 November 10th there, at the age of 60, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman from all the way back in 1992 when Batman the Animated Series first debuted, all the way up to, I can't even remember the last project he had. The last one I do remember was probably Killing Joke, which happened a few years back.
I think his last project that he was working on before he died, I think, is the new Justice League video game.
Oh, no kidding.
Not Justice League, Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah, killed the Justice League. Yeah, the new Suicide Squad one.
Yeah.
Well, there's no easy way to put it. Like, this one was sad. I don't know any health complications that, led to it. I mean...
It was old. You know, it's it's sad, but when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, I guess this one makes sense. It's just a real bummer. You know, that sucks.
Yeah, and the thing about it is he was Batman for well over 3 decades. It spanned multiple generations. Like, his voice is as iconic as Mark Hamill's. When people think Batman, when it comes to the live action stuff, they usually think someone, i.e. Christian Bale or Michael Keaton. But what no one can ever dispute is the fact that Kevin Conroy will always be the voice of Batman. Just no one else can do it.
Also, I think it wasn't cancer that got him?
I believe it was, yes. Very tragic, and as I had posted the day it happened, you were vengeance, you were the night, You were Batman. Rest in peace, Caped Crusader. And while we're on the subject of 90s icons no longer with us and big time tearjerkers, rest in peace, Jason David Frank, aka Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, the Red Ranger, the Black Ranger, the White Ranger, the Power Ranger.
The greatest Ranger.
Yes, the greatest Ranger. I believe he died. He died a few days after Kevin Conroy did, and
yeah, and this one hurts more. Like most celebrities die, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks, man. I'll watch their movie again, or I'll listen to their album again. But like these two hit harder. It's kind of like I think like video game movies often fail because you spend all that time playing a video game, especially when it's an immersive open world video game. You put all that time into a video game, and they try to cram all of the hours and days and months and years you spent on that game into an hour-long movie, and it just doesn't work that way. And I feel like that's why like Kevin Conroy and Jason David Frank's deaths hurt so much. It's different than a movie or like a movie actor or something, because like you spend a briefer amount of time with a movie actor, but with like Tommy and Kevin Conroy, dude, you spent episodes and really immersed yourself
whole series
into
arcs,
their universes, and there was a lot of content.
Whole series arcs with Tommy there. And here's the thing about it. Yes, there are many actors whose biggest claim to fame is one specific role, but Frank had a charisma and a presence and an overall like feeling of just genuine joy every time he stepped into the screen and donned the helmet. Like to this day, like Power Rangers started in 1995 and we're all the way into almost 2023. And this man kept that persona, kept that character alive, kept that franchise alive, because like, what is it? He returned back in 2004's iteration of Power Rangers, which was Dino Thunder, and he took the role of Zordon, being the mentor to the youngest generation. And then even while Power Rangers still goes on today, like he made cameo appearances for like the 20th anniversary back a few years ago. And not only that, like other pop culture YouTubers and other content creators have used him for like skits and stuff like I encourage people to go look up Green Ranger or even White Ranger versus Scorpion and from Mortal Kombat and versus Ryu from Street Fighter.
Ryu.
Yes.
Yeah, that same company that made those skits are the ones that are making his Legend of the White Dragon movie, which will be out next year.
No kidding. That is brilliant.
I'm looking forward to that movie.
Unfortunately, Mr. Frank had passed away a few days after Mr. Conroy due to suicide. Now, when I heard that he had died, that made me sink immediately, but like hearing more behind the circumstances behind it, I legitimately teared up and almost threw up. Now, here's the thing. Where I work at, there are multiple different people that come from different backgrounds, culturally, status-wise, ethnically, racially. There are a lot of people all over the world, especially where I work at, that loved Power Rangers. Tommy Oliver in particular. Turns out he was, I believe he was a Christian, and he would also go to certain conventions and whatnot and like try to spread like goodness and cheer amongst people. So when
he had some UFC clothing that said Jesus didn't tap.
yo, I respect that. I love that. And yeah, a few coworkers at my job were just devastated, especially the way like it happened. And uh, Jason David Frank also left behind his wife and four kids, and the world is just not the same without him. But at least we know he has a friend wherever he's at in the form of the Yellow Ranger who had passed during the first iteration of the Power Rangers
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah, it's I think the Pink Ranger was right when she said that he was frenetic. I think that's like a perfect word for him. I mean, he had so much energy, and like he's also an important face to the tokusatsu genre in general. I mean, most people's introduction to toku was through Power Rangers, and Tommy is someone that everyone latched onto.
And he's just like, he's up there in the greats in terms of martial arts icons, at least in my opinion. Like, people talk about Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan and what is it, Jet Li and stuff like that. But in terms of a more Western audience, like, very few have attained such a cult status, such a status in general, and fame as Jason David Frank did.
Mm-hmm.
And with all
It's too
that,
bad. I wanted to see that fight between him and Jean Claude Van Damme, but
bro, oh my god, I might just cry right now. No, you
Van
ain't.
Damme it.
Van damn it.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Rest in power. And with all that being said, that concludes the 2022 memoriam for the celebrities and artists that we have lost this past year. And now we can move on to something more positive. Are you ready, Saturn?
I am. This list was very difficult. There are some things I still haven't seen. Like, I haven't seen the latest Scream movie, the latest seasons of Walking Dead. I haven't seen Nope. I haven't seen Wakanda Forever. But there are still things that moved me this year. So I think I also have an honorable mention list that I'll do at the end.
Me too.
I just have to say them.
Me too. We can both do that. But since you're the guest, you start off with your number 5.
No, my number 5, I'm going to go with Werewolf by Night. It's just like, it's great. Marvel's introducing the horror elements now. Ghost Rider's coming. Blade is coming. And Werewolf by Night was filmed like an old school horror film, and they did an amazing job. And I think, forget the whole movie. The thing that got me so pumped, and it was Man-Thing. When I saw Man-Thing, I'm like, I don't care.
I heard Man-Thing had made an appearance. Yeah.
Oh, it's like, thank you, Marvel. You're finally like putting on characters that now, if we could just get Howard the Duck, we're doing good.
Yeah, no, and Seth Green has to voice him. And tell me, how were the how was the violence? Was it PG-13? What was the overall tone?
If I remember correctly, it's like. To be honest, I don't remember, but I do remember it being a real savage movie. I mean, the fight scenes are good. I mean,
and it's all in black and white, right?
Oh yeah, except for like the last minute of the movie, the color comes in to symbolize change or something.
All right, I hear that. Well, on the topic of black and white, my number 5 pick is the final season of Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul is a spin-off series from the groundbreaking television series that completely reshaped the genre back in 2008, one Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul follows Saul Goodman, aka Jimmy McGill, and how his journey had started becoming the comedy character of Breaking Bad, which on paper should not have worked. But I would dare say Better Call Saul was actually better than Breaking Bad. Now, don't let me front, Breaking Bad still has some of the most tense moments in television history, but just like the journey of Better Call Saul. It's pretty much their version of The Godfather Part 2 in the aspect that it's both prequel and sequel, and it touches upon different aspects that just were not fully explored in Breaking Bad. It was also an origin story for Mike Ehrmantraut, the old man who was helping Gus Fring there. And let me tell you something, there was a lot of heartbreak in this series. There was a lot of suspense. And I saw I got new favorite characters from this series. And hats off to everyone in the cast, Bob Odenkirk and Rhea Seehorn, who played Kim Wexler. Also, my boy Jonathan Banks, who plays Mike Ehrmantraut. Giancarlo Esposito, a.k.a. Gus Fring. And a couple of surprises there being Michael Mando, who plays Nacho Varga, better known as Voss from Far Cry 3. And also a very interesting wild card being Tony Dalton, who was better known for playing, actually, he's better known for Latino or Latin soap operas. But him playing Lalo Salamanca, the youngest nephew of Hector, the guy in the wheelchair there, it was captivating, it was charismatic, and it was terrifying because when Lalo would smile at anyone, you didn't know if he was going to be your best friend or if he was going to gun you down right then and there. Definitely probably has jumped into my favorite villain from the series, even past Gus Fring. What does that tell you? You said recently you just finished Breaking Bad, right?
Yep, I finished all of Breaking Bad, and I think we're one season into Better Call Saul.
Let me tell you something. It's similar to Breaking Bad in the aspect that it is a slow burn, but damn, does that fire spread. And honestly,
yeah, I'm not complaining. I really like how it fills in the blanks of Breaking Bad. And it does it so well and Breaking Bad does it so well that I didn't even think there was blanks to be filled, but there is. It's cool.
I know, and I didn't think I would give a shit about Jimmy, aka Saul there, but like, oh my god, his story, his backstory, so tragic. In like,
yeah, with the right writing, you could be interested in a show about Jar Jar. You just you need the right writing.
Please do not. Now, actually, I would say careful what you say, but Kathleen Kennedy is no longer in charge of Star Wars. So, anyways,
right. If she was, we would have got our Jar Jar show, and he had a pet Ewok, and it just would have been.
And of course, he was a Sith Lord. He always was a Sith Lord. Let's debunk that right now. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is the recent season of Stranger Things. Like, holy shit, did that take me through so many emotions. That was crazy.
Now, like, let's be honest. This is one of those groundbreaking series, like akin to Sopranos and like Babylon 5 and This was, in my opinion, the first major streaming juggernaut series. This is Netflix's still its magnum opus to this day. Like,
actually, until Wednesday.
Until I have not seen Wednesday yet. I will not lie. That is on me. It is on my list, as opposed to the thousands of others I need to catch up on.
It's worth it. It's a fantastic show, but I'm pretty sure I read something or saw a video about how it's surpassing Stranger Things or something like that.
Well, of course, Jenna Ortega. Oh my God! Like, I can't get into it. That's a separate podcast entirely.
But yeah, no, this season of Stranger Things, it's different. It's like, I always tell people, I'm like, the first season of Stranger Things was awesome. The second season, forgettable. The third season brought it back. But the fourth season, like, throws the first 3 seasons away and it's so good. Standalone, it is amazing. I would ask new people to watch it without even seeing the first 3 seasons. This season is so good.
In terms of character development and special effects, I didn't think they could top season 3. I didn't even know how they could. But then you get, like, one of the things Stranger Things is really good at, that even the smallest minute characters that are only in for a single episode, you form such a connection with them. The acting and the writing is so talented, and the concept is so original, and like bringing back the 80s nostalgia of the Goonies, the neon lights, the horror craze at the time, and of course Dungeons and Dragons. It all just flows swimmingly, and going back to characters, like, yeah, I would argue that season 2, yeah, it's definitely was the weakest season, but it still had a lot of good moments, especially when it came to moments between Jonathan and Nancy, and then you also had like Bob, Joyce's love interest at the time, and taking that to season 4, you had more focus with Max, who, like, out of everyone, definitely had the least like development up until like season 3, and then you see the torment of what happened with Billy in season 3 really get to her, how that plays a role in the plot. And then you have characters like Vecna and his backstory, and of course my personal favorite and everyone's personal favorite, my boy Eddie Munson. Oh God.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Yeah, back in school, like I was definitely more the Munson type. Didn't have the hair, definitely. Didn't have the musical chops, but I was always that kind of like what is it? Hyperactive kid, still am, and just like so honest, so full of life, and not afraid. Like the scene where he's like messing around with Dustin there, and he flat out tells him never change. That brought a tear to my eye, as well as Eddie's death in the series too.
Yep.
And it makes me curious to see like how they can continue this to season 5. Like season 5 is going to be the end of it, and like what else is there?
Well, I mean, I think like my prediction is either season 5 is going to be the end of the 80s, or season 5 is just going to kickstart into the 90s. And you know, if they start in a new decade, it's almost like they could start a whole new show. You know, with a whole new aesthetic.
Yeah,
you know, because 90s aesthetic is different than the 80s aesthetic, so the music's going to change everything.
I don't want them to browbeat it to death, though. I don't want it to like go on past the jumping of the shark point. I hope that this is the end and that's it. But it also has me concerned, like, what other storylines do they still need to wrap up? And most importantly, who's going to make it? Because they're not ashamed of killing off characters. And I love every single character they have right now.
Yeah, if anything, I really like when they stop when the you know when the ratings are high, and then I love when they always when shows or movies make a comeback. You know, like Rocky Balboa when he was an old man and made his comeback. That movie was emotional. It was awesome. Or like on Disney Plus, they got Willow, Hocus Pocus 2.
Dude,
a bunch of years have passed, and then they make a comeback.
Dude, my mind fucking blew when I saw that Willow had made a return, like, is returning to Disney Plus there, and I'm just like, what is happening right now? Like, talk of wholly obscure 80s movies, Batman, like, holy shit. But that brings a big smile to my face, which, speaking of which, my number 4 pick deals with more of the macabre, more of the existential dread, more of the supernatural. That being the 2022 horror film, Smile.
Interesting.
Now, I shit you not. When I was still living back at home, I was just sifting through YouTube, just chilling. It was dark out. I the lights were off. I was just like getting settled in. And then all of a sudden, for 5 seconds, this one ad played where like three different people were smiling the most hideous, gut wrenching, like soul devouring smile I have ever seen. And that legitimately, that 5 second ad made me jump out of my seat and left me fucked up for the rest of the night. I was looking at shadows like I was purely terrified. This film in just one 5 second ad made me fucking like made me tongue tied, made my brain fucking twist. I knew I had to see that movie. And let me tell you something. I believe that was the first movie I saw down here in Orlando, and it did not disappoint. Now, the thing about it is, so Smile is a supernatural horror film about this one psychiatrist whose patient, while smiling directly at her, kills herself, slits her throat right in front of the doctor. And since then, the doctor always like sees somebody smiling around her, and there's a curse with it where after like a week of seeing that suicide happen, you end up doing the same thing. So what I loved about the film is that it did nothing to change the genre whatsoever. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But that's what made it good. That's what made it pure. Like the jump scares and the overall setting of the film was so macabre, so heavy, and there are a lot of heavy themes, especially regarding mental illness within the film, that made me genuinely like tear up and experience existential dread. And there's also themes of passed down trauma, and it's definitely not a film to watch if you are sad. If it is a bad day, I would say do not watch this. But for any horror fan out there that is looking for something that doesn't change the game, but instead points out everything that makes the game so brilliant, Smile is the movie to watch. And I don't know her name, but I give my hat off to the lead actress in that film. Such a harrowing performance, and another performance that will probably not be recognized at any award shows, but that doesn't matter because they're arbitrary and stupid anyway.
Okay.
So, with that being said, let's move on to number 3. What you got?
My number 3 is She-Hulk. I really liked it because, you know, we take the Marvel Universe so serious because their first decade, they went hard. And it's just like, it's exhausting to be a nerd these days. Like, everything is super hated on, and I'm just like, She-Hulk was a breath of fresh air. It was just like, it was a show that was self-aware. It made fun of the industry, well, you know, and it made fun of Disney, and it was just like, it was. I love this self-aware thing, and it marks this new like subplot in Marvel. And now that they got She-Hulk and Man-Thing and Howard the Duck, they're just entering a realm of characters that I really love.
They definitely went hard the previous 3 phases, and now we're in the post-coital giggling stage. Definitely getting ready for another round.
I think people got to remember we have COVID and they're trying to capture a new generation, and they'll get it.
Here's the thing though. Here is the thing. While She-Hulk definitely like was a breath of fresh air in many aspects, and there were parts I genuinely enjoyed and laughed at, and I am curious, especially with the new Daredevil series coming out, where the character of Jennifer Walters is going to go. That being said, there were points where I was not satisfied. Number 1. So the overall theme of She-Hulk is not a bad theme. Where I get kind of pissy is how they chose to express it. Like the opening episode, like, the theme is apparent, but I feel no sympathy for Jen at the beginning of the series. Like, what is it? You do have like her dick-headed like co-workers that are making fun of the fact that She is a woman in charge and whatnot. But you also don't see, I don't think you see enough of the struggle that, like, really what happens is you hear her, like, highlight a lot of the struggles about being a woman in charge, but you don't see it. So it comes off as more like complacent, as opposed to seeing the experience itself and having you truly relate to, like, oh no, this character is going through the ringer, and these are her struggles. Like, I completely understand.
I can see what you're saying, because when you watch Spider-Man, you know Peter's struggling because they spend entire movies where Peter is just eating a shit sandwich, and She-Hulk does have some things in the show that's very serious that I'm surprised Marvel took it there, but yeah, for the most part, I guess in the first half of the series, you don't see her eat those shit sandwiches, as much as like Peter Parker would or something.
It makes you feel like that, like, due to writing, that they don't give her the proper struggle she needs to earn the hero status. And we saw these struggles similar with Captain Marvel and finally Black Widow the past few years. It took forever for those, but, like, I feel like you could honestly relate to them because we spent more time with them. You saw more of the background. All of a sudden, Jen shows up and she's outclassing Bruce. That was the thing. That was my biggest gripe with the series, because Bruce Banner in the MCU is without a doubt one of, if not the most tragic character they have there. Because think about this. This guy
came around towards the end.
Oh yeah.
She realized that what Bruce went through took struggle. They fixed that.
Exactly. Where I get it is, like, he's still one of the only characters, I think the only hero that has a record of actually saying that he made a suicide attempt. And that's also not counting the unnumbered and undocumented homicides he probably had committed while he was still trying to control, like, the other aspects of the Hulk, that separate psyche itself. And especially in the first episode, I felt it was another fuck you to Bruce and Mark Ruffalo, who plays him, because we still have not gotten that Mark Ruffalo singles film yet, due to, like, you can blame studio stuff, you can blame, like, creative differences, whatever. But that's
Universal. They like, Marvel's not allowed to make a solo Hulk film. They can only make a movie where Hulk is incorporated, which is why they put him in Ragnarok, because he's not allowed to have a solo movie. When Marvel was desperate, they sold their properties to everybody, and now that the MCU is this fucking awesome thing, Marvel's still struggling to get their properties back.
It's a damn shame, too, because, like I said, with all that being said, like, you can explore more. I think that would have added more to She-Hulk, just, like, having Bruce more in that mentor role, and, like, seeing how it could have, like, expanded more on Jen's character, because we still need to know, like, more of her backstory, too. But I feel like going forward, she is going to be a welcome addition to the MCU. And She-Hulk, like it or hate it, I had fun with it. Like, I can gripe about it all day. The point is, I had fun. I still love it.
I had a lot of fun with it too, and it was like, I love how self-aware it is and how fun it is, and, like, people hated stuff like when she was, like, twerking with Megan Thee Stallion and stuff, and just, like, but I get frustrated with people's frustration, because it's like, yeah, everyone loves, like, Black Widow and some of these other characters, but those are all female characters written by men, and She-Hulk is the show written by women, so we're getting a new perspective,
Okay, so there's a little bit right there. And also, let's talk about that breakout character, Madison.
Which one was that again?
That's the party girl who ends up at Wong's.
Oh my god, yes.
I really am wondering if, like, that demon she made a pact with was in fact Mephisto. And if so, that would be fucking amazing. Everyone wants to see Mephisto. I do too.
Is they're giving us like some properties we never asked for, but I guess I'm glad they're making. We need the Madison show. You know what I mean?
What is it? I think you should do a partner thing with her and Wong, because like Wong has been so prevalent in this iteration of the MCU, like across television and movies. I want more of Wong. I didn't think I would give a shit, but Wong is becoming one of those characters.
Absolutely, because like you're supposed to be giving a shit about Doctor Strange, but now you're like, now I want some of that Doctor Wong. You know.
Yeah, no, facts. And
What's your number three?
oh, my number three. So the number three and number two placements were extremely hard because they're actually both from HBO Max. But because of like how late it came in the year, and just like based off the previous project the property did, my number three is House of the Dragon.
Yes.
Now, what was it? Going into it, it kind of had a Better Call Saul deal where it is a prequel series. And, like, I mean, Breaking Bad is flawless, but, like, Game of Thrones, not so much. So it had an even bigger challenge on its hand. Thankfully, the creators from the former series were not involved. And even George R. R. Martin, in much more professional terms, pretty much said, yeah, fuck those guys. I'm with this new creator now. He actually knows how to do his job. And let me tell you something. Like, people are kind of like deterred from the time jumps and whatnot, but also considering how what House of the Dragon is based off of, the which is just historical recollections of the Targaryen dynasty. This was an impressive debut season. Like, this is one of the best debut seasons I've seen in a TV show in so long. Like, the characters are as always are completely flawless, and it kind of expanded more about what made Game of Thrones so good. The political intrigue. They did not shy away from the violence, and of course, we get more dragons. We get more dragons.
Yes, I was pleasantly surprised with this show, especially considering before I watched it, I was like, of all the characters, all the families in Game of Thrones, this is the one I give a shit the least about. I'm like, these people, are you kidding me? After I watched it, I'm like, I'm really glad I saw this show. I still feel like they're the least interesting family of the lore, but even the least interesting is pretty good. I would rather see an entire show with Peter Dinklage's character, but I don't know.
Well,
I have mixed feelings, but this show was super well written with little to no action. It was strictly the Game of Thrones style drama, and it held the show.
also, you keep in mind that this points out why the Targaryen dynasty in the Game of Thrones time frame was probably considered the least interesting house, because like this whole season points out the downfall of the Targaryen dynasty, and it came from within, exactly how the king said in the beginning. And my hat goes off to every single actor in that cast, especially those who played both younger and older versions of both Alicent Hightower and Rhaenyra Targaryen. And like, what is it? There's definitely more representation with diversity in terms of race, sex, and gender in this series, and all of it, like, it's in the background, but it's so compelling. And it also plays parts in the story, like the lineage of Rhaenyra's sons, and like what her betrothed was, how women were used, like what is it? They made no delusions that, like, when it comes to the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, the men have the battlefield and the political stuff, but the women's battlefield is definitely childbirth. That opening scene with Rhaenyra's mother, it was so uncomfortable, so disturbing, and we only knew this woman for like all of like 30 minutes, and you felt her pain.
This show truly emphasized that in these times, women are no more than a body used for politics. You know, that felt like that was the main theme of the show.
Well, yeah, but that has historical accuracies too, because back during like medieval times, that's how houses and royal families would get an edge on political rivalries. They would marry it with like stronger families, or even sometimes the enemies, the families of their enemies, in order to get that political edge. And on a different note, like hats off to the special effects. Like the dragons look so damn good.
Better than they ever have.
The battle scenes with like when Daemon goes full beast mode on the beach and in the cave. Matt Smith, seeing him go from Doctor Who to a Targaryen that you don't know if he's gonna fuck you or kill you, that shows great acting chops right there.
Yeah.
And then, especially on the performance side, I gotta give a shout out to my boy King Viserys. And let me tell you something, I don't often cry at television and films, but episode 8, when Viserys is like, he is like decrepit, he is pretty much practically a walking corpse, seeing him walk his ass to the throne room and pretty much re-verify Rhaenyra's claim to the throne, that was one of the most powerful scenes I've ever seen in the series. Like, even near death, he will defend his children to his last breath. And that moment where the crown falls off and his brother Daemon puts it back on his head, like, that was a huge character moment. And I can hardly wait for 2024 when season 2 comes out. Ugh. And if people thought the way the season ended was bad and terrible and really Game of Thrones like, those who know, y'all haven't seen anything yet if you haven't read the books yet. It's gonna get even better or worse, depending on your point of view. To quote Ramsay Bolton from the Game of Thrones series, if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying any attention. And with that, we're on to our number 2s. Shit.
All right. My number 2 is Cabinet of Curiosities. You know, we don't have that many anthologies anymore, and not as many as when I was a kid growing up, for sure. But this one was really good.
I'm not familiar with that.
Absolutely 0 episodes were duds.
I'm not familiar with the series. Could you explain more?
It's a new anthology series on Netflix. Del Toro made it.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, there's even one episode with Ron Weasley from Harry Potter.
Oh shit! All right.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah, dude. Like and then there's some actors that I recognize from, like, the guy who plays the leader in the MCU Hulk movie. The guy who created the Abomination, and he got the Abomination's blood in him, and his head started bubbling up.
I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
So that guy's in the show. Just like every episode is just so well written and weird and very Lovecraftian.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. Well, with that in mind, now you've always been a horror anthology fan, as you have made me into one. How does this compare to anthologies of the past, i.e. Twilight Zone, The Midnight Gallery, Friday the 13th, the series, and all them?
It's better because this is an anthology series that is taken seriously and is probably made with the love of those old shows. And it's kind of like, like I would never tell a kid today to go watch the 90s Power Rangers because it Power Rangers. 90s Power Rangers was horribly acted. It was technically trash, but I love it. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't.
Well, that's the same. Well, that's the same as saying don't watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. But I would say that most of those anthologies, like the the Nightmare on Elm Street anthology, even from the '90s and stuff like that. Yeah, they're technically all bad shows, but I don't know. There's just something about an anthology and a new story each episode, and yeah.
And the fact it was created by Del Toro, who is still to this day like so highly underrated, like in terms of his craft when it comes to the horror and dark fantasy genres. This makes me happy, and this gives me another show to put on the list. Fuck you.
I guess the difference is this show is on Twilight Zone level, because Twilight Zone is the pinnacle of anthology shows.
It's the pinnacle of television, period, but go ahead.
It is the horror anthology show. It's the one that is still inspiring TV today. It took itself seriously. It was so well done. And most anthologies after the Twilight Zone were really silly, weren't taken too seriously, and we just put up with it because but Cabinet of Curiosities takes itself as seriously as I think the Twilight Zone. I thought it was really good.
So was there more of a theme of supernatural or dark fantasy, or a bit of both?
Yeah, I guess a bit of both, honestly.
Heard. All right. Well,
what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 actually came from the beginning of this year. Now, again, this was a huge tie between HBO Max's best, but just because of how early it came, especially especially where my headspace was at the time, and just like how shockingly amazing it was, number 2 has to go to Peacemaker.
Oh shit! Yes.
Now, like...
Do you really want to taste it?
I've been tasting it, and I can't get enough of it. Oh my god. So, what can you say that hasn't been said about this show? HBO has always been known for going the extra mile for the big budget series, but then you add in James Gunn, who is such a talented director and writer in terms of the fantasy, science fiction, and horror genres, and you give him the freedom to do whatever the fuck he wants in the DC universe. Oh my god. So Peacemaker continues from James Gunn's The Suicide Squad that premiered on the platform back in 2021 there, and follows Peacemaker, aka John Cena, after the mission attempt in the Suicide Squad, and see what happens when an anti-hero or someone or a hero the public sees as a menace and a villain, how he goes through a huge redemption arc. I cannot say much that can do this series justice, but the character work with John Cena going from an ignorant, arrogant, muscle-bound buffoon who is good at killing into kind-hearted, gentle, tolerant badass.
Yeah,
it is.
It was a show about unlearning the programming of
generations past. Yeah.
It was about childhood trauma and how to become not your parent. And I like the episode where he kills his father, clearly a metaphor for how we have to let go of negative people in our lives, even if they're family, It
just astounded me how gory the show was, how funny it was. Like, everyone had a funny moment in that series. the dynamic the dynamics between Peacemaker and the whole cast with Economos and Adebayo and what's her face there, the blonde, I forget her name, Halcourt or Harcourt there, but like, and then seeing the special effects with the butterflies and oh my god, the final episode where they have to take out the yeah, that wasn't no cow. So I shit you not, the first time I saw the quote unquote alien cow, I absolutely shat a brick, me being an arachnophobe, and that motherfucking monstrosity having the face that it did, and I'm just like, that is no, I scream while it's playing in front of me, that is not a fucking cow! That is not a cow! Oh. And, what was it? It was good at balancing the themes that you have listed, having a dark grit, especially when it came to its action. And its humor is top notch between Peacemaker deprogramming all his shit, and of course the big highlight being Vigilante there, fucking who was pretty much Deadpool but nerdier. And
much different than he is in the comics. This was a different version of him.
Hey, I still laughed my ass off, and points off to not just Gunn but Cena, because I can without a doubt say this was his best performance yet, and this makes him climb up there with people like, in my opinion, like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and what is it, Henry Cavill, because he just brings so much life into the character, because he's always been known for either playing action meatheads or comedy doofuses, and he does both at the same time while also showing more of his vulnerable side, his inner child. And those are aspects that are not only hard to combine, but also just present individually. So chops off to him, because Peacemaker is without a doubt one of my favorite television series currently right now, and I cannot wait to see what Gunn has in store for the DCEU going forward, bar none. Marvel, you fucked up. Anyways, so before we get into the piece de resistance, let's go through our honorable mentions if we can, shall we?
All right. So my honorable mentions, these are things that I liked, but, so I'm going to say Bullet Train, Pinocchio's, the Del Toro Pinocchio, Obi-Wan, Willow, Boba Fett, Heartbreak High, and Wednesday. All those things were just so good, and they made this list very difficult.
Oh, there are a few on there I completely forgot. Pinocchio, Del Toro made that one? Where can I find that one?
Netflix.
All right, heard. Say no more.
There's a trio of great Del Toro things to watch on Netflix. Watch his new Pinocchio. It's a heartbreaking movie. Watch Cabinet of Curiosities, and then his Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is on Netflix.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah, I did see that like about a year ago. It wasn't bad. It was good for what it was. And for my honorable list, got to give a shout out to Doctor Strange for his trip through the multiverse of madness. Still, I think, definitely the best movie to come out this year in terms of Marvel. But then you also got Wakanda Forever, which I saw last week. And let me tell you something.
I want to see it so bad.
You will tear up. Motherfucker, you will tear the fuck up. I shit you not. Also, a shout out to HBO Max once again for airing the low-key scariest horror film of the year, that being Barbarian, which it's gonna get under your skin. I got to stream that back in October, and with performances by Justin Long and Bill Skarsgård, aka Pennywise the Clown, y'all are in for a treat. I also got to give some love to my gangsters across the pond there for their final season of Peaky Blinders. Killian Murphy, aka Scarecrow, there. You are a GOAT in terms of acting. Also, for more mob related TV shows, gotta give a shout out to Mayans MC. Made me rewatch the entire Sons of Anarchy lineup once again. And also, finally, a very surprise pick that happened this year, FX's The Bear, which chronicles the struggles and times of an independently owned restaurant in Chicago, which on paper should be boring as fuck, but you add in the human performances, you add in Lip from Shameless, and the fact that there's only 8 episodes, 30 minutes a pop. And if you've ever worked in the service industry before, in front or behind the kitchen, this series can be finished in 4 hours flat, and it is worth every single episode to the point where you want your second helpings, i.e. season 2. And those were the honorable mentions. And finally, what's numero uno for you?
Right. Well, I think this is hands down the best movie of the year. I think it's the best movie in a long time. And, I'm a comic book fan, but even I have to say this movie is better than most comic book movies I've seen. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, you were telling me about that. That was the one with the woman from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon there.
Michelle Yeoh, yeah. Her best movie, and to be honest, it's just one of those movies like Donnie Darko, Benjamin Button, and it's one of those makes you think about life, and I'm gonna rewatch it a lot. It's a sad movie, it's an action movie, it's a multi-genre movie, it's weird.
Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like it's flirting with a lot of different concepts, more akin to spirit.
There's fighting with butt plugs. There are fight scenes.
Wait, what the
that will blow your mind.
Wait, fighting with butt plugs.
There's a universe where people have hot dog fingers, and this is all in a movie that'll make you cry. You know what I mean?
This sounds like some Rick and Morty shit. What are you talking about right now?
I kept thinking of Rick and Morty the entire time I was watching the movie. You have to see it. I'm telling you, it's better than most things you've seen in a long time.
Wow, I'm in literal tears right now. That absolutely sounds like a perfect movie.
You won't believe what you're watching. You have to, by law, smoke weed before you watch this movie. It's crazy.
Oh shit! God, if I can find it on streaming, that's the first thing I'm gonna see.
I don't even remember how I watched it. I think Natalia bought it on YouTube or something. Or on Amazon. So yeah. Oh my god. Wild movie.
Well, speaking of universes and concepts that completely blow and shatter the mind in the best of ways possible, my number one pick is neither a TV show nor a movie. It is, in fact, a video game. This past year had definitely been tough on me, especially living up in New York with all my personal shit. So there were a lot of days where I just spent indoors not doing anything, and my health really took a toll for there. So someone at the time that I knew suggested that I should get a new game system and play this game. At the time, I had enough money to buy it up, and one of the best investments I've made as a geek and a fan of video games, without a doubt. And of course, my number one pick is From Software's Elden Ring.
Oh, okay.
Now,
you were going to say Red Dead or something.
No. Red Dead was 2018. Also a great game, but the best way to describe Elden Ring is it's Dark Souls meets Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, I have been such a big fan of From Software's works with stuff like Dark Souls and Sekiro, and my personal favorite is always going to be Bloodborne, because that's where you see a lot more concepts being flirted with Lovecraftian horror. The boss design is flawless. The enemy design is flawless. The level design. And also, I love the combat in this aspect that you cannot block any oncoming attacks. You either have to parry them with a gun you have in one hand, and then you have to just keep attacking the enemy until they die. And what I love about that game in particular is if you get hit and you take damage, there is a 5-second window where if you start attacking back at the enemy, you recover some lost health. Now, when it came to Elden Ring, it took the best aspects of all of From Software's games. Like, the combat is much more aggressive, much more fluid. There's weapons and items that are references from Dark Souls. I thought Bloodborne's boss and enemy design were so amazing, and their setting too. But Elden Ring is it's like an acid flashback. It is without a doubt stepping into a painting and just living in that world. Be it like the red rotting desert of Caelid to the icy tundras of the mountaintops of the giants, or being able to explore an entire fucking city like King's Landing in the form of Lanedale, the capital city of the lands in between. Every dungeon, every biome, every part of the world that is so well interconnected had its place there, never felt like filler content, and it always made you feel like not only were you progressing, making yourself stronger, there was always something to find. Like, the world is that massive, and the fact that most of the bosses, like even the big time bosses, can be optional, can be completely skipped to finish the story, which has 6 different endings and more downloadable content on the way. This was without a doubt my pick for this list, and it's definitely my game of the year. And I don't know how From Software is going to make a better game than this. I think this might be one of like contenders for one of the best video games of all time, like especially going forward. It ain't no Cyberpunk, that's for sure. But so yes,
we did it.
We did it, and this podcast will probably clock in at an hour and 20 minutes, even with editing. And with that being said, folks, when it comes to 2022, an Odyssey full of beautiful pop culture works in terms of video games, in terms of movies, in terms of television shows, where it will go in just this next year alone, and tragically those iconic figures that bring these worlds and these works of art to life that have tragically been lost due to the ravages of time in any aspect. Flat out, folks, we got nothing. Thank you, Saturn, once again for hopping on. I miss your ass. I hope everything's going well. I cannot wait to read that comic book. And if you would like to follow Mr. Lunanova, please follow Life on Saturn Productions on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you would also like to see what I personally provide in terms of content, please follow me at Catalyst Jost. That is CATALY 5TJ05T on Instagram. Follow me as Daniel Evans Jost on Facebook. And with all that being said, folks, please keep your vibes dope, keep your zen flowing, and as always, peace.